Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. Always appreciate everyone that tunes in the replay for sure. Going back and listening as well. Everybody that does their best to see the announcement of the episode coming on. And that's why we always tell with people to subscribe. So if you subscribe, then you actually can get the notification or just hit the button twice and it'll actually notify you of when we're going live, or as well, you can catch it on the replay. Really excited about doing this episode. This is episode, The Vault, episode 179, going private in the next 30 days. Definitely look forward to doing this episode. A lot of people have already inquired with the times right now. Haven't changed. We're in the month of March 31st. And so definitely definitely, in a time where things are a little rattled in the nest, as they say, which is good. One of the mentors say if you say your business is doing good, you're not doing good. You always are striving to put your company in a better position, and things of that nature. So we definitely wanted to do this episode today to really get people going in the right direction. Really excited about it. So we're gonna go forward from there. Really move forward with this episode. So going private in the next 30 days, we've had quite a few people at the vault already reach out and ask questions about being private and making sure that they are in the times where they see public not having the benefit as they would want. And we what we've seen in just saying going private even off the beginning is talking from a business perspective, because all of the leaders that we're dealing with right now are talking about growing in the business realm. So what we're seeing is a lot of pop-ups, a lot of startups happen. Going private in the next 30 days is getting a consultation, at least getting your. Some people are getting their LLC, some people are getting their corps going. They want to take advantage of the bill and how appropriations for new businesses are going to be there. And so people do want to go private right now. They want to have more control. We've seen this across the board. It's a resounding, I don't want anyone else to have this type of control ever again. I want to be in a position of power. Since we hear that message, we hear that theme being, permeated right now, we're going to go ahead and speak on it and say, okay, well, we're very aware that there are people that are moving into more of a position of power, saying that they're actually going to, get a business started, actually get the LLC, because the Secretary of State is still open. You can file online. People are going on and getting their corps opened up. People are looking to do business right now, whether it's over the internet. They see, okay, wow, if I'm not able to leave the house, I got to get something to get some money coming in while I'm at the house. And so many people are aware of that right now. So many people want that right now. But then we have people that we talk to that are in essential businesses. They're in what's considered that financial sector. They're in what's considered the private sector, the sectors that are essential. They show you how there is a stronghold on the private sector, how there's no lack of capital in the private sector. Inventory will be fulfilled, and that means demand will be fulfilled, whether that's through human capital or whether it's through financial capital. And financial capital is doing well right now. Despite what's being permeated in certain publications, financial sectors have not stopped moving. They are moving. And that's why you see people starting businesses, because they're saying, okay, well, there's other business going on and I need to participate. There's other business going on and I need to now pivot. It's called pivoting. So when you pivot, it's like, okay, I'm multi talented. I'm not stuck on, oh, I got to go in here, do the same thing every day. So there's a pivot that just happened in the marketplace. Some people are pivoting, some people are sitting. But going private in the next 30 days requires a pivot. It requires a transition in thought process. It's almost like, wow, I've never experienced anything like this in my life before. It's like, right. So now the next 30 days for sure can be the best 30 days, because the last 30 days, what did they look like? Were they the worst quarter you've ever had? Internet marketers would probably say it was their best. The private sector would say, well, guess what? You can't say all stocks took a hit. Not all stocks took a hit. Johnson and Johnson, the companies that have cleaning products, they did well. So going private in the next 30 days looks very interesting for most people right now because we want to address the entrepreneurs, the investors, the people that are on the P side of the four quadrants of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Of when you look at the four quadrants, you see, okay, there's a side that really is generating passive. And so when we talk about passive, people think sometimes, oh, I'm going to get $1 million and I'm not going to do anything. That's not how it works. All of the millionaire friends, guess what? They get up before 7 o'clock. All of them. Not one, not two, not a few, all of them. We're talking about the ones that actually have assets under management, $1 million. Whether that's through properties, whether there's through businesses, whatever it is. So we're going to talk to the base of, hey, I need to get this business started so I can go private in the next 30 days. So I can at least start on my path of the 30-day private journey or moving in more of a position of control. Own nothing, control everything. Trust Christian. Own nothing, control everything. You can go private in 30 days. So does it require a opening up a business possibly? Quite a few people have started on that journey. We've seen a massive increase in people that we connect with through the vault. See, a lot of people don't see the emails, but we get the emails and people ask, well, okay, I've started the business. Where do we move now? Because people are looking to get funds from the quote unquote bills that have just been passed. There are people saying, look, mentally, we can go out, create a business, and take advantage of this. There are people that are in position that are taking advantage of it. So when we say, who's been reaching out to the vault and saying they want to go private in the next 30 days? Is it the multimillionaires? Guess what? The multimillionaires are crickety right now. They're quiet. They have the capital to sit. The true multimillionaires have the capital to sit right now, but they're not. They're actually working harder. We're all working harder. So go private in the next 30 days looks like, okay, maybe I was getting up at, you know, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and I had to be to work at 9 or 10 for someone else. We're moving into a position of now we got to get up every day and create a work schedule. See, people come into the private and they say, trustee training, what is the training? What is the management system like in trustee training? What is the management system? The management system and trustee training is based off what you want to do. But it does have a system. It has a system for your business. Go private in the next 30 days or going private in the next 30 days separates the serious from the curious once again. People say, well, I want to go private, but I still want to deal in the public. No problem. Trustee training is a continuing education program that prepares the mind for management as a trustee. Simple as that. People ask the question, how creative can they be? As creative as you creating a work schedule that says you're actually going to work 6 to 8 hours straight for yourself, not have any distractions, not let your children come and bother you because you're working from home now. Now you have a pure 8 hour or 6 hour or 4 hour or how many hours people are going to dedicate straight to the work schedule. In the private, there's a work schedule. When people say, what's the management like? The management is you creating a work schedule. Some people say, well, what about if things happen like they've happened already? Once again, the vault says you have to have a work schedule. Some people were getting up later for someone else, and now they might not get up earlier for themselves. This is where we separate the public from the private. Once again, all the private partners are getting up before for sure. We could almost say it's like we want to push it to 6:30. We don't know any partners that are multimillionaires, that are millionaires at the vault, that are getting up after 6:30 right now, despite the times. Despite the times. Whether they're getting up and reading, whether they're getting up and studying, whether they're getting up and taking action, they're taking action early. Whether it's getting up and meditating, whether it's getting up and praying, going private in the next 30 days involves what the mentor said earlier, taking action. So when we talk about the businesses now, whether it's LLC, S Corp, C Corp, some people say, well, okay, how is that private? Do I need the consultation? Why wouldn't you need it? You're going to need it because do you have the ancillary team around you? Are you building a team or are you going into the S side, which is when you look at the four quadrants of rich dad, poor dad, you can see that is self employed. So we're talking about building a big business. We're talking about investing. We're talking about going private. This is where wealth is built. Wealth is private. It's not public. So we're aware of that. Wealth goes private. It's own nothing, control everything. That's the audience. If you say, "Oh man, that's a cult," yeah, you're right. The people in the environment, they're not looking to share. They're looking to deal with other wealthy individuals because that's the way they like it. They don't like dealing with. They buy out public people. They buy out public companies. They're a holding company. So when we get people that say, "Oh, do I have to only have one business my whole life?" Traditionally, most multimillionaires on our side in the private sector, they don't. They have multiple businesses. They have multiple business interests. It's like you don't want to have to pivot, but you pivot with the times. You think a old company doesn't want to pivot into technology, but some older families don't want to pivot into technology. They like holding just real estate. They like just holding different main staple companies. That's the private. They have multiple holdings. They do pivot with the times. So right now we're seeing some employees pivot with the times. They're saying, I want to go private. I want more control. Own nothing, control everything. I have a family. I have children. I'm looking to pivot. The time is now then. Why? Because you already see the wave. The wave is upon you. But how many are going to create a work schedule and actually knock out 5 to 10 things on a list every single day? This is not a job, it's business. So people wanted the stay at home lifestyle and sit on the internet, sit on the computer and make money. So when we come with the trading, now we get the, oh wow, that looks sophisticated right there. That trading stuff, it looks sophisticated. It looks like it could be for, what people go to school for. When my trading partner buddy has taught the Ivy League kids. I can brag on them. It's not me. So I can brag on Cornell. Cornell with the trading webinar that's coming up on April the 12th. You have the flyer. It's in the post on YouTube for the vault. Literally, I mean, he's definitely taught Ivy League kids, like kids that went to Yale and Harvard, and this was in a hedge fund. So, I like bragging on my multimillionaire friends, the Vault's multimillionaire friends, because, someone that, we have private jokes about him, as what would be public perception. But, going private says, when his mentor, see, we understand truth. Truth says you either can talk it and you can walk it. Well, he said his mentor said that he invited to his house and said, "Hey, I'm gonna teach you something. You're never gonna have to worry about money ever again." So we sat there, and I mean, when I heard him say it, I was like, "Really?" And that's what his mentor said to him. And when he showed up and he got what he needed to do, it was like, okay, you're not. It's like, okay, you're not playing around. So he showed him what he needed to show him. And then you find out that there's a community of traders in the world. And you're like, oh, okay, you're not the only person. So what I like about life is to know, okay, truth. Truth is that He did do that. I mean, I've never seen him work a job. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I've never seen him work a job. He has interest in many different holdings. Once again, this is the private sector. This is what it brings. It brings you quality relationships. This is where you weed out the friends that can't lend you $1,000, $10,000, or however many bucks for a business venture. This is where we weed them out, and now we get into, okay, I'm on the phone with people that we can get deals done now on a daily basis. Why? Because we have 5 days in a week. We've been given some time to pivot, and we're pivoting. Whether it's an hour a day, whether it's 8 hours a day, we're maximizing the time to take action. It does create or require an individual to create a list of what they're going to do for the next day and the week. Period. We can hear a lot of the internet gurus on the internet right now saying you got to plan out your life. This is the best time to plan out your best life. Planning mode is over. Planning is every night, and then the next day execution. And so that's where we are going private in the next 30 days is someone where we get people come to the vault and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, I've listened to your channel for less than 3 weeks." What did they do? They got a consultation. Okay, now they're moving forward with whatever business interest that they're moving forward in, or whatever interest they're moving forward in. Going private, once again, is people that have the interest open now. They say, "Okay, I got the company open. Okay, what do I do now?" Well, first of all, you want to make sure you have your operating agreements in place. You want to make sure that you have your ancillary documentation that supports the position and what position you're in. It's the back end work of the company. You say, how important is that to be going to do that over making money? Well, first of all, structure precedes profit. And this is where we get in the room with the accountants, we get in the room with the lawyers and say, well, did you justify your position? How is your position justified? How are you able to do what you say you're doing? Well, they have, just like they have social governance, they have corporate governance. Since they have corporate governance, you can look into possibly the laws for that state, or you can look for it at a different level. But going private is knowing that, having the governance, as they say. So, going private in the next 30 days is the people that say, okay, I got the company, and I actually got my company started through one of these websites or the internet, and we actually have some ancillary docs. We got those things in place. Okay, let's now we get to the business where the rubber meets the road. You say, okay, we got to go make sure we open up the business bank account. Business is still going on, ladies and gentlemen. Business bank accounts are set up through appointment at this point, which is perfectly fine. See, when you get into business, there's a level of risk taking. Do you think, oh, Bill Gates isn't moving around? You think Warren isn't moving around? You think the greats aren't moving around right now? Ladies and gentlemen, the buying opportunities are happening right now. So, yes, the greats are moving around. Going private means you do have the private means and transportation to get around privately right now. And so that's the drop ball if that preparedness moment is not there. So at the end of the day, we're in the mode of go private in the next 30 days, being prepared for what we already know is what's going on is the wealth transfer. We already know that. So the business of saying, hey, some people say, okay, well, we got the docs up and we're moving forward. We got the business going and we got the online website type deal get ready to get going. And people are moving at lightning speed every day. They're taking action. They're doing merchant now. So we recommend people that hey, merchant services account. We tell people, hey, there's business routes you can go that make the business worthwhile to have. Some people, we get people that, here's a story. Someone comes and says, well, I've spent $12,000 in my business in the past 3 months. A, that's not a lot of money. B, they thought it was a lot of money. And that's the doom of their failure. The doom of their failure is the fact that they feel like they put a lot of capital in. It was a lot of capital, but the fact that they didn't feel good about the capital that they put in, it shows that they weren't confident that they were going to get a return right now or immediately. And so, since they weren't confident in getting a return right now or immediately, we see okay, going private is a risk, just like being in the public's a risk. Right now, there's the ultimate risk. So, going private is on people's mind. They want more control. And for that reason, if you're going to do it, the next 30 days is the best opportunity. So the consultations have been made for this time. They're not outrageous. A lot of people would even ask, because we're able to sit still for this quick second and enjoy the educational aspect, the consultations have been at a price that people can, say, hey, this is where I can come in and go ahead and get the 45 minutes to an hour and move forward. And that's where we want them to be. So it's a great time for people to come and get the consultations, just because we've made the time to be available. Travel is kind of, leveled off. If you do see business travel, it is business travel. We see business travel really going on still, just like we see, business at hotels still going on in the marketplace. So, you know, going private is the demand right now. It's at a bottom. It's like, okay, well, when do we get to the public? We get to the public when, we can move about. Social commerce is at an all-time high, whereas commerce has been pivoted right now to the internet. If you have an internet business, people have benefit. The people that benefited the most have taken the most advantage of having an internet website positioned right now at the beginning of the wave. They had their website up. They were taking advantage of the first 100 hours, the first 200 hours, the first 300 hours, the first 400 to 500 hours. I mean, they're taking advantage of the first 1,000 hours of people having to deal with more consumption of data and internet. And so when we see people over the internet right now generating a lot of capital, it's because they had themselves positioned, such as you going private in the next 30 days to go about in the own nothing, control everything way. They positioned themselves already publicly, and now they're taking advantage of people sitting at home, people utilizing the internet more. Internet sales are skyrocketed, obviously, and so we see the marketplace that it's almost gone private. When you see essential versus non-essential, when we see what is essential in the marketplace and what's not, and so those 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 marketplaces, those interests have changed, and it's interesting and it's good to see that those marketplaces have changed in front of people's eyes. It's one of those things you say, oh, wow, if I get to see one every 5 to 10 years in my life, this is what you got to see. You got to see a transition from, you either staying in the public and going private, or you going private and traditionally trying to do it as fast as possible, because you see, wow, this is that mental shift. This is that moment of opportunity. This is what the greats realized. They realized that in great times great things happen. They realized that. They said, okay, I'm going to pivot and go private, or they're going to stay public, and they're going to listen by the wayside, and they're going to get shifted by the ways of the winds, because they see that in the public they don't have control. In the private, they say, well, if I beseech that, then that's what I'm going to get. Right. It's almost called being in control of your financial future. When you see people coming in and saying, I want to learn the trading, or I want to learn trusteeship, it's because they want control of a different area of their life that the public is not going to provide, because it's in a private environment that you obtain the information. You obtain it in a private environment. That's how it works. When you go into the high net worth environments, there's a pay price to action in those environments. They are never going to be bottom dollar discount. They're going to be focused on making sure that people have a pay price to action, not just because you have to, but in most of the times in the environments, these environments nowadays, people are paying to not only pay people, make people pay at the door. They got people paying even. They got people paying to even speak nowadays. People are paying to speak to further their platforms and things of that nature. So, going. Private is now say, okay, I'm going to dedicate some time to the study because I have the time. We've noticed that a lot of people said that's their resounding reason is, hey, I have the time right now. I know that this is the best time to do it. And it's just like, yeah, you're right. Well, it was the best time to do it 30 days ago. But now we see that there is a need, particularly in the next 30 days, because people can say, okay, wow, someone has mapped out the public celebration course, and we see now we need to map out the private celebration course. So going private with trustee training in the next 30 days is going to be something that we've already seen the surplus, so we started another round of trustee training. We're going to open up that window for trustee training, and so we're going to continue moving forward in that respect because we saw the need. So we're gonna move forward in that respect. If you reach out to the vault, you'll see the consultation pricing and everything inside of the emails. Christian@trustchristian.com. Uh, we'll put it in the chat. I know we'll leave it available at the chat. Christian@trustchristian.com, and you can go forward from there. It's still a classic thing. It's really basic consultations. People once again are asking for how to once again, they're in their LLC or their S Corp, C Corp. But once again, we hear people say they want mentorship. Me and Cornell, we're going to do an episode about mentorship and how valuable it is because when you go private, you go back to mentorship. See, public education is where people go to school and sit in the classroom with 30 people and don't learn anything. Or we get people that come out and, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about capital and how capital is being allocated back and forth and moved around right now during these times? When you say you're going private, are you in control of capital? Are you sitting on capital? We see people that are sitting and holding on to capital right now, and they're in the public sector. So, what do you think the private sector is doing? The private sector is holding capital right now, but the public sector, how long can the public sector hold capital when we're talking about the everyday man and woman? We're talking about their savings. See, America was at a negative savings rate. What did we forget about that? America wasn't in a savings. They were in a surplus of a creditor situation. And they still are in a surplus of a creditor situation. America is a debtor nation. America is not at a creditor position. So going private, of course, is the times. Of course, is the trend. It's like meditation. People are going private because they say, well, how can I maneuver in the public marketplace the way that I want to maneuver? So they're going private. Trustee training is a solution for them. And even people that have their businesses up and running. We see people that are taking advantage of the times right now. That's just the bottom line. Entrepreneurs are taking advantage. Employees, they might not be taking advantage of the times unless they pivot. And specifically ones that are considered non-essential. So when we see the pivot and the transition right now, you know, what happens to someone that says, and we'll give a dubious thought. Dubious thought says, hey, I was a bartender and now I started a liquor store. Why? Because there are some states that are allowing liquor stores to stay open, and they've passed appropriation to say we can't do it because of substance abuse laws. We can't just deprive alcoholics, which are classified legally as people that are dependent on this substance, that you can't just close the store. It's like a pharmacy. The liquor store is like a neighborhood pharmacy now. So now we see, wow, this is considered an essential business. Go private in 30 days. Once again, a bartender starts a business in the liquor store industry because they understand very quickly, wow, I needed to pivot and adapt. Not only did they say, okay, I was going to go start a liquor store, they actually said, we're going to buy out some older people that and do a roll up in liquor stores. Right now, that is a solid industry to whether you want to believe it or not. The gov, the so-called powers, the public has said it is something that's an essential. So you say, how does that go to once again going private when I'm in the public and I'm looking to get my business started off from ground zero? Going private means it takes complete responsibility. You get on the phone, you start making the phone calls at home to the individuals that can give you the money. A lot of people don't know where to get the money. You can get the money from many different sources. People say, oh, I'm going to go into the private. That traditionally means people have capital, have assets that they're looking to protect, period. So if you're in the public, people are looking to acquire assets, people are looking to grow, their AUM, and that's fair. People are looking to grow their assets, but they say, well, how do I go private? We can talk about that, but the initial step is where a lot of the wave is when we say if we're dealing with 100%, 40% surplus to 60% surplus has just come in away from employees to entrepreneurs that are looking to say, hey, I want to go private, but I'm in the stage of growing a public business. I really want to get it off ground level. Don't have a lot of capital. And this is where we get into a lot of where, once again, financial service businesses are booming. When we get on the phone with them and we talk to them right now, they are saying, look, we are an essential business. We are being contacted every single day by new businesses that, we don't want to say people are having to do personal guarantees, but some people are not having to do personal guarantees in the business market right now. Still, at this very moment, 30 days in, right now, you not having to do personal guarantees, but you are able to acquire capital from the public sector to grow the public business. People say, well, what does that entail? That entails you calling the public sector. But then we say, people say, well, how am I going to get the capital from the private sector or the public sector? This is what people are asking. How do I get the capital from the private or the public sector? Well, you got to make the phone call. You got to have the pitch deck. Well, we get people. See, we could bring you everyday conversations. Let's give you the yesterday's conversation. Some guy is sitting on the idea for 8 years. I'm going to let you know how bad that sounds in the public sector. It sounds real bad. Real bad. You say you've been sitting on the idea for 8 years. Guess what? No one at a bank wants to hear that. It's bad. That means you haven't gotten it off the ground. You're talking to someone that at least has to vet you and say, well, okay, how fast are you going to implement the idea and make the idea work and get some capital generating, especially if they're going to give you capital, whether it's from a bank or the private sector. You're asking for someone to give you capital and you don't have a compelling, well, hey, guess what? We hear guys that start businesses within 2 weeks and they make it sound like they've been in the business for 8 years because they put that much study time into their sector. When we sit and talk to the entrepreneurs and we say, hey, you want to actually have an executive summary. You got 24 hours to get online. And we actually share with them. You can go to Duns and Bradstreet. You can go to credible sources and get business plans and executive summaries because there are public companies, even Berkshire Hathaway, that have their business plan on the internet, that you can see templates for deals that have been funded. So you can see the deals that are getting funded for your industry. And this is where we get into, oh, I'm trying to go private. You could literally go private off of charity alone. This is where I pivot. This is where we pivot. This is where we say you can go because charity is a business. I was talking to a trustee yesterday and they said, oh yeah, guess what? The hotel industry is booming right now. They need more beds. Are you serious? What do you mean? Hold up. They're booming? Yes, they're booming. Like there's a demand. And guess what? We have literally, this trustee said they have a friend that's they literally have a manufacturing plant that doesn't manufacture medical supplies, but all of a sudden now they're manufacturing medical supplies and they're soliciting to hospitals that they can manufacture the medical supplies. So they're actually getting affiliates to go out and solicit to hospitals and actually get contracts that they can fulfill for medical supplies. Whether it's masks, whether it's beds, DME, durable medical equipment. We should go look at those companies on the market right now because those companies are probably booming. And what does going private say? Going private says, I got to sit here and create. You don't need, everybody thinks they need to create the business plan. I got to create action steps that I got to take every hour for the next 30 days. Or as long as I'm in this position of pivot, the pivotal moment. We heard the mentors for years now say, what are you going to tell your grandchildren or your great grandchildren or your children for the greatest transfer of wealth happening in front of your face? Well, guess what? It almost looked like the wave happened in the past 30 days, and the wave is still going. So the wave isn't over. So going private in the next 30 days is just saying, hey, son, hey, grandson, hey, granddaughter, hey, daughter, guess what? 30 days, I made a business plan and then I followed it. That's how you change your life. They say, what made you a big shot? What made you the person that you are now? The person that is multimillionaire? I took action. That's what happened. So some people are going to get held up on the website. Oh, I need to create the website. Seeking success is seeking failure at the same time. So we see that the businesses now are in a position where they're looking to get capital. Once again, we have connected with more partners actually now on the lending side than a little bit. Why? Because the lenders are actually open right now. The lenders are open right now. They want you to get capital. Some people say, here's the trick, and this is the treat, ladies and gentlemen. The mentors epically will record in history right now. You can go on LinkedIn, one of the number one websites on the internet. Shout out to LinkedIn. Go on LinkedIn right now. Put yourself together a team of people that have 25 years or more experience, and you take that industry because now you have a team. The lenders are giving a team money. They're not giving individuals money. Guess what? That's called the job. Those are minimal lending rates. When you have lending rates for people that are putting together corporations, people that are putting together the LLCs. Oh, well, what happened to the LLCs? They used to be for like doctors that would have multiple people in one practice. You see lawyers in multiple offices, multiple lawyers in one practice. So why did people go into these entities, the LLCs, the C corps, and things of that nature? Because they wanted to get more capital. Because capital is lent to corporations. That's who gets the greater level of capital. When we ask the rhetorical question of hey, was going to get more capital, a business or average natural person? They would say a business. Well, here we are. You're going private in the next 30 days, and it looks like you having to finally get off it. And guess what? Maybe make the phone calls. Maybe make the phone calls to the individuals that you know that you needed to talk to over the past 30 days and you didn't. So now going private in the next 30 days means you talk to them. Whether it's public lending, whether it's private lending, that's what the next 30 days looks like. I mean, this is a great moment to say capital is still being moved. We can take advantage of capital being still an essential that we know we can facilitate around the world now. This is shown that this is globalization. We're in the global market. You want to have something that has its hands on a global positioning, and that's the cloud. That's the internet. People say, well, how do I go private over the internet? We were laughing with a partner the other day. Be as a trustee, what happens when you control the image of your children and your family over the internet? Where people have to pay to use that image. That's called going private. So we got the transition of the entrepreneurs, and we're doing our best to play in hodgepodge with the trustees because the trustees know what is the deeper level of private, going deeper into private right now. They're in the private and they're saying, where do we position ourselves? Because in the private sector, we're having conversations. And in the private sector, what are the conversations that are being had to take the family into a deeper private position, because the private position is a superior position. The private position is the legacy position, the forever position. How do we go into that position deeper in the private? We have the business on the public side. The business is working on the public side. How do we go into the private, and how do we stay private? How do we create the Hilton money, the hotel money? How do we create the Boeing money? How do we create the GE money? How do we create those type of capitals, where we're talking about truly going private? Truly going private. How do we create the American Airlines? How do we create, yeah, hopefully we create an airline that doesn't go out of business. How do we go that far? Because there are trustees that want to go that far. How far are they going to go? And so when we say, okay, we're in the private, where's capital being allocated? We saw the wealth transfer happen literally, oh my gosh, overnight, where when we look at assets that were being held, such as commodities actually on the private side, and see oil even drop as low as it did. When oil is when went under 30, it was like, wow, you saw the marketplace shift into more of a private sector where financial capital is going just straight through the internet. When people say, "Oh, we wanted to blow smoke off the crypto," yeah, people blew smoke off the crypto. It's sort of like skateboarding. They actually have skateboarding tournaments. They draw a large crowd. It's sort of like when you see, here's a pivotal company right now that can literally create content and rule the internet, such as a Red Bull. Red Bull sponsors events where they have events where people are doing things by themselves. So they're able to pivot. These are companies that have data, have content to produce over periods of time. So we're going to see content. We even got an email the other day that there are, ladies and gentlemen, this is the marketplace. Oh my gosh, we deleted that email. But the email actually showed there are businesses being bought right now that have subscription services of $20 or less for the B2C. So that means business to consumer. That means your product or service is a subscription for 30 days and it's less than 20 bucks. We saw multimillionaires ask for that. They asked for that deal right now. If you have a business like that, they wanted to have at least $1 million in revenue and they're going to buy that company right now. We have private investors that look for those type of deals right now. When we even talk about B2B, they said it had to be, I think, under $400. So under $400 subscription service B2B. So that means, some type of accounting service, some type of legal fee. Those companies are being bought out right now in the private sector. Those companies are being bought out right now in the private sector. So when you say where is capital being allocated, go private in the next 30 days. We see capital being allocated in B2B right now. Business buyouts right now for sure are for sure moving because financial capital is still moving. And then when we see people looking to start their own business, they're having to put capital into the business. And that means they're going private. They're looking to own nothing, control everything. If the business has the assets, if Microsoft can operate without Bill Gates, if companies can operate without you, that's called an asset. That's going private. That's something that produces for generations in perpetuity, long term. So when we talk about going long term, this is the moment to go private. That long term dip and dive. It's the moment where you say, okay, wow, I've heard about this, I thought about this, but I feel that this might be a good time to do it. I feel that this is the best time to do it. I feel like there was no other time to do it. People have already had that feeling. So they went from, oh, okay, I'm thinking about owning a business or having a business. And, we're going to do this at one point, somewhere down the line. My passions. If they made me a couple dollars, that's great. If they didn't, oh, well. And that's where we change. We have encouraged the private, and this is where we've encouraged the private and friends and family. Yes, you do invest in your passions right now. This is the best time to go for broke, quote unquote. But let's move past the go for broke. Best time because okay, now they had the feeling I got to invest in a couple passions. Okay, let's see what are those many passions. And right now let's go for that moment because this is that moment. It's the free moment. You free for fall, free all. And people say, "Well, is that the private? Is that kind of like a free for all?" The private has its rules which are really awesome and then you just move about in those rules. So you got in a position of own nothing, control everything. Now you're going private. You're already going private when you go own nothing, control everything with the LLC or the C corp. We don't really like the S corps at the vault, but you can go there. But we like those as far as when people come to us because that's what they traditionally have. And so when we talk about how do you go private with that situation, we talk about that during the consultation. So you're already going private when you say, I'm looking to start this business. Right. That's what's supposed to be done. It's about your last name, not your first name. And now we're about to see the shift on how many people now can say, you know what? Man, you're right. Man, though I am right. You say that to yourself. You say, I am right. You're right. I need to actually invest in my last name right now. It's time for me to show why I need my last name to have some type of perpetual wealth. some type of perpetual feat, some type of perpetual thing here, a monument going private. Who do you think is controlling the public? The private. That's why you're going private in the next 30 days. It's because you said, okay, I know that's the truth. And guess what? There's no better time to do it. Out of chaos comes order. So you already know if there's great panic, that's a great time to actually get ready to get rich. And there's definitely a wealth transfer going on. So it's definitely the time to go private and be rich in the next 30 days. Some people want the long term play. The long term play, think about it. The wave was introduced 30 days to start getting richer. We're 30 days in to the get rich moment, and we're still into the 30 days to the get rich moment. Are going to be another 30 days from now. It's the get rich moment. It's the moment where you go private. It's the moment where you definitely take it. Now better than ever. When people hesitated for one thing and they said, oh man, I'm still thinking, I'm still thinking. Okay. Think about it. If you didn't experience this moment before, how many moments will there be for you to enter to the private and go private? How many times? Oh, we didn't want to take that for granted at the vault. We made it a point to, once we saw the truth, we know how the truth sticks on the wall. It doesn't come off. It's called a legacy. It's called perpetuity. And we see that. And we're excited about that. Go private in the next 30 days. Trustees, you go deeper into the study and the action. And the public, people that are looking to make that transition, which we would get an abundance of contact, we move forward with knowing, hey, look, what are you going private for? Your family. We get that one a lot. We've had families in the room for years. And this is about the principles, the higher principles. Going private is about stewardship. And so, how many people want to steward their family? Themselves. We got so many alpha men and alpha women out here saying they're alphas and they can't get $1 million business off the ground. But they're an alpha. Going private in the next 30 days might show that there's some familiarity with alpha. And that means being in control. Own nothing, control everything. It's investing in yourself probably more than you ever had to. Why? Because this is a moment where people feel like the rug has just been pulled from up under them. And if you feel like the rug has just been pulled from up under you, or you feel like the rug can be pulled up from what's under you, you go private in the next 30 days. Not because Trust Christian says so. It's because once again, you got the thought, you got the feeling, and now it's time to take action. And you'll manifest the future. We've had mentors come to us and say, oh yeah, when you go private, you live your perfect calendar. That's the environment we were brought up in. The perfect calendar environment. Well, guess what? That means it's time for you to create a schedule. It's time for people to take action. It's time to separate the serious from the curious. It's easy to play around in the public. It's too easy. The private requires the serious. AUM, assets under management. It requires the study. And so people say, oh, I had the financial rug pulled from up out of me. My financial advisor, he failed me. Is that public or private? And going private in the next 30 days is you learn how to be in a position of own nothing, control everything. That's what happens. Appreciate you all for tuning in live or listening to replay. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. You can email us at Christian@TrustChristian. We got the webinar coming up on the 12th. See, ladies and gentlemen, when you pivoted, like the vault pivoted, because the vault ain't been on the internet for no 2 years or no one day. This has been a years in the making. We were prepared for the internet trans communication, the telecommunication. We were prepared for that. That's what we do. We've been in communications and marketing since 2005. The market has been here. It's like saying, has Verizon been in the market or AT&T been in the market? Are you positioned in the marketplace? So position is internet right now. That's the position. That's the street curb that you're serving right now from. If you're serving, you're serving product or you're serving service over the internet, because that's the internet marketplace. It's transitioned from a face-to-face marketplace, transitioning meaning it's one of those things. You do catch a cold. Sometimes you catch a cold. One point in your life, you might catch a slight cold. Okay, that's called in the public sector recession. That's in the public sector depression. In the public sector, they call it a market slowdown. In the public sector, they call it different things. We were positioned. So now that you're positioned, we say, okay, we're going to release the partners on the private side. These guys are eating over here. The private sector is in a buy mode. Why? Because if people say, oh, I want the market to go back up, well, then that means it's turning around. And so for that reason, that means that if you were in, it's going up. So we see people that were positioned. When we talk to private partners, I mean, to hear how they're allocating capital, it's because they actually were positioned. I mean, it's not a hearing mode. It's not oh man, I got $100,000 I just allocated to, this account. I got $1 million that I just allocated to this account. That's not a farce. When you hear them allocating small lump sums to different interests right now, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the market analysis right now was a major dip. By there being a major dip, people are expecting a major comeback. Whether it's in the next 2 years, next 5 years, next 10 years, people are looking for a market comeback. So as it stands right now, everything that we're talking about is in alignment. Buy low, sell high. If it was at an all-time high, what just happened? There was a sell-off. Maybe that's why people step down. That's why people have left the companies. They're going extra private. You think that there aren't families that are privately wealthy that aren't on the Forbes list? If you know that, then that is the truth, because it is the truth. There are families that are that wealthy that don't need to be listed on the list. It's not, oh, the Waltons hold the top 5 positions. Yeah, and the Waltons still have a publicly traded company that they're a part of. The family's actually there managing it with them. They're involved with the various interests, and of the foundation, the Walton Foundation, all these different foundations. They are part of all of that's going on. So we see people going private in the next 30 days. We're really excited to work with all the entrepreneurs that are looking to get a consultation, that want their friends and family to really get their businesses off the ground, that want to go on to the Secretary of State's websites and actually get their business started, and not have to pay an arm and a leg to get some services on the internet that they may or may not use, or go through some body that's not going to be able to really help them execute. Really excited about it for all entrepreneurs and investors that have even listened this long. We appreciate you all listening to this lengthy episode, because we understand the importance of right now the marketplace and what they're thriving for and what they're asking for. We get the emails regardless of what people see on the internet. We get the emails, and we're just addressing the emails. We can talk about and put the finger right on the pulse of the marketplace, because the marketplace is calling still right now. Because when people talk about the financial services industry, that has not stopped. People are still doing banking. People are still doing transactions over the internet. And so the marketplace is demanding that there is a growth mindset that needs to be taken right now, whether it's you going public or you going private, in their business position. They can see that, wow, there is a time to generate massive amounts of capital, whether it's public or private, because the marketplace is here. People say, well, it looks dim and grim. That's the marketplace that the elite love. That's what the private sector loves. They love when the public sector shows that it just had a bubble that was burst. The private sector loves that. And so, okay, let me share with you what the private sector mindset is. It's an investor, entrepreneur. Why? It's because in bad times, you're willing to take a risk. You're not a puppet. You're not a follower. You're not a sheep. You are a risk taker. You're going private, regardless of what may look like on the surface that, oh, I'm being deprived or I'm being pushed into a corner. You're not going to do that. You are going to stand up, have your last name and your first name be counted as someone that's going to be remembered, whether it's in your bloodline, your family history, or you're not. There are many people that do not care about that, but we get the family legacy people at the vault. That's what's going private. They're focused on family and legacy in the private. They're focused on long term returns. The public is easily going to be taken care of and pushed off to the side. Whereas the private is looking to be in control. It's own nothing, control everything in the private. So if that's the case, if that's what you're beseeching, you will get that. Don't think that the returns are not going to come in the private sector. What people have been fooled is oh, well, the public sector, I'm waiting for a return. You're right. In the public sector, you're waiting for a return. Whereas in the private sector, you're taking the returns. The returns are in your hands right now. Now, there are many people that may not have been positioned for this moment, or they're positioned, they're in a compromised position. That means they didn't have a plan. Well, guess what? People think, oh, I need to create a plan now. Don't get stuck on stupid. Now it's time to get into I got a day by day plan, and I'm going to take advantage of my days. And I'm going to take advantage of my days. The next 30 days. The next 30 days, whether it's to go private, to own nothing, control everything, or to be in control of my family's quote unquote financial future. Why? Because I've been duped into thinking that there's somewhere in the public sector that I can get some public information that's going to teach me or educate me or my family on how to actually get wealth. How is that the case? They're telling people to save in the public. They're telling people to get 30-year mortgages in the public. They're telling people to go to public school in the public. What happened to private school? What happened to the ones that are winning right now? So hold on. There are actually people that are losing? Yes. And then there are people that are winning? Yes. Yes. So what are the ones that are winning though? That's the private. It's a land grab right now. A land grab. People are looking to take control over their land, their mind, their body, their soul, their financial futures, their children's futures, their family's futures. They're not looking to be sitting and waiting. And whether we want to say the internet marketplace is that, even though it's a public www, we still want to point out the fact that, hey, the marketplace demands a pivot. And the ones that are looking to make the pivot, and so the ones that are ready to pivot will benefit from the pivot right now. They people don't want to hear that the strong survive. People don't want to hear that the strong survive, but that's the case. And the ones that are taking control, they at least know, okay, look, I have a choice to breathe or not to breathe, but I don't really control that. So, since we get past the things that we're really, really thankful for, let's get into the things that we can still do on our own. And so, we've always been preached a message of self reliance. We've always been preached a message of self determination. We've always been preached that. So, going private is the same exact thing. Once again, whether that's with the business and, oh, I'm going to make sure I got the business going for the family. Think about it. Are people really that afraid of going into a position of control? Yes, they are. And this is where you separate yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually from those people when you take control. Why? Because how low is life when it's self-defeating? You play ball when you get own nothing, control everything. That's the name of the game. It's time to play the game. Many people are playing the game. And when you're in the private, it's time to create those partnerships. Because in the private sector, they're working together right now. The thing that always amazed the vault was that you guys, people don't really know, the bigger the money, the greater the partnership. There's more people partnering on bigger deals than there are people partnering on little deals. There are more people partnering on little deals than there are on big deals. I mean, more people partnering on big deals than little deals. And we've seen this every time. A lot of the bigger money deals, you see a lot of partnership there. 80 million and 80 million. They wanted to get 150 million, so they did a 80 million partnership. And so when we see the like lower level deals, like deals that are less than 10 million, less than 3 million, when we see those deals and people are oh, I don't want to have any partners. We saw a deal come across our table the other day, and this guy's like, oh yeah, I'm only giving up 15% of my company. It's like, dude, how much is your company worth? So you're trying to tell me your company's worth $100 million and you're giving up 15%? Like, no one wants that type of equity in the private sector. They want way more than that if they know you're worth more than that. And they didn't get that. They were looking to, oh, I'm gonna let you put in $5 million and I'm gonna cash some things out. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You're not gonna let somebody put in less than $8 million, less than $10 million, and they're gonna give up and say, oh, I only want 15 million and I'm not gonna be able to allow to buy more stock in the company. All these different things. Guys aren't looking for that in the private sector, and even on the public side, they're looking for capital returns, equal share value, but partnership, nonetheless. So when you see people on the public side say, oh, well, we don't want to create partnership, it's almost like when you look at the gov and you see how long it takes them to create deals and bills and things like that. That's really what a business deal is. They're literally having to negotiate what's going to be inside of the business deal, and inside of the business deal, you see, oh wow, okay, there one person trying to get this passed, and this other person trying to get this passed. So it's like, well, what are these guys? These guys are bona fide lobbyists. They're literally passing special interest bills publicly. Like, oh, okay, well, if you didn't have a cyber security company now, guess what? We're going to allow a grant to be given to your company. All you got to do is get a grant writer. So we talked to someone the other day. They think this is one of the most critical things they need to get. Don't get stuck on stupid. Grant writing is a dime a dozen. They got more people sitting on their butt right now at home that can write a goddamn grant. You can get a template and get anybody to write it. You think you can go get a paralegal to write legal docs through the internet right now? Business over the internet is booming. People that are going to create businesses over the internet to serve over. And what's crazy, we actually talked to, this is a gem for you all. They're doing online notary services now, which is crazy. We see notaries literally coming to us telling us, yeah, they're allowing us to do notaries over the internet, which is crazy. And this has been around for years. I'm talking about they have been around for years. Whether people know it or not, I've seen online notaries around for years. For this, we're in 2020. They've been around for easily 16 plus 2016 easily. They were doing online notaries. They try to call it mobile notaries, and then now the marketplace has given them a specific special advantage in the marketplace. Online notaries. People say, what business do I pivot in? I mean, you pivot into something like that. Turn online notaries into Uber. Become the online Uber for notaries. Become the online notary, online Uber for notaries. This is the marketplace we see. And going private in the next 30 days is a hodgepodge of ideas that, I wouldn't say or have to be worked on for 8 years ago. Geez, but when we're in the marketplace right now that are demanding that you might have to have multiple business interests, you can't just be stuck on one for eight years. And we're going to speak on this real quick because we get so many people coming to us with this, and we had a scene. And so This is a trust Christian, own nothing, control everything quote. Businesses are ideas fueled by passion. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been asked this question since like mid 20s. People would ask, trust Christian, how do you execute the various ideas and passions that you have? And we would always let them know, hey, look, you might have a lot of passions, but at the end of the day, you got to start somewhere. Just start. Once you start doing them, you'll figure out that my passion either ran out for that, or I'm actually going to double down and dig deeper in it. A lot of times when you see a lot of successful people, the reason why they're successful is because they double down in something that they were passionate about and they make money in it and they make tons of money in it because it's not work, it's passion. And so the Vault always loves doing episodes for people because it's a passion. But at the end of the day, going private in the next 30 days is you saying, okay, how much passion am I going to allocate to these specific ideas and becoming a true private, high net worth, wealthy individual that the vault can see you on the private side. We can see you in the private trustee trainings. We're still doing private trustee trainings, ladies and gentlemen. We did that during the virus, which is interesting. We got away right before it got just a lot heavier with the propaganda, and so we expect that the next trustee training. We expect that the next trustee training will be held when the quarantine has been lifted, which is around July. We were looking at July or October for the next trustee training, and this is where we're just going to go ahead and bring the heavy hitters into the trustee training now, where we're bringing in asset managers always, and then we're going to bring in some accountants and lawyers. We want to bring in more of a base where people can see that because we brought in so many different people that even if you bring in the marketing people, it's still more important about when people go private, the management of the environment, because now you're in a trustee position. So we always get that conversation, coming through. But you're in the private sector, you see how much capital is sitting around on the sidelines, billions of dollars, so there's trillions of dollars sitting on the sideline right now in the marketplace, whether people know it or not. Right now, 331 2020, there's billions and trillions of dollars sitting on the sideline right now, just not buying assets because possibly large capital could say assets are going to go lower, and then they're going to buy, or assets still are just they're still at a shaky moment where they could stay at this range for a little bit longer. So we always have seen capital sit on the sidelines, and they just like stable businesses. When we talk about the essentials, you're moving into the essential realm. You're not going to be stuck on stupid and say, "Oh, I'm going to stay in the non-essential realm." You actually say, "Okay, I'm going into the essential realm." A lot of entrepreneurs have just cracked open their business over the internet. They see that the physical presence marketplace. When we talk about brick and mortar, people have smashed brick and mortar for so long. Brick and mortar sucks. Brick and mortar sucks. Brick and mortar has been shut down. That's what just happened. So once we see that transition now, we get to a place of, okay, the marketplace has just shifted to, once again, whether it's essential or non-essential, we're talking about a marketplace that we're going to be in an essential environment. So the conversations in the essential market right now are profitable. They're very profitable. And when we talk about having profitability, that you hear internet marketers coming on the internet saying, "Hey, you should be excited. Start your business over the internet. Hey, you should be excited. You should be focused on your marketing, focused on planning that out." Once again, at the vault, we are letting you all know the planning period is over. This is the 30-day action plan now. Why? Because first of all, there has been a public planning that's already been done. And when people can see that, you can just say, okay, it's like a holiday. Like you can see when the holiday's coming up. Yep, 30 days from now, I got Valentine's Day. 30 days from now, I got this birthday. 30 days from now, I got Christmas. 30 days from now, I got New Year's. 30 days from now. Okay, so 30 days from now, people's lives has just been planned out. So the 30 days is now time to get busy. It wasn't time to plan to be busy. It was time to be busy. The internet marketers are on the internet making money. They were already at home making money. They were sitting on the internet. They were marketing to people, and now they're making their money. When we're talking about financial services, they were on the internet. People have been forced to learn how to do online banking now. Oh man, what do you mean? Don't think that market isn't going to grow. We had a partner say the other day they want to go into fintech, but we hear everybody say they want to go into fintech. Fintech's like saying I want a pretty hot date. Fintech saying I want a pretty hot wife. Fintech's like saying, I want a strong husband. It's like fintech's like it's vogue to say I want to go into fintech. But what do you want to do in fintech? Fintech is deep. Fintech is like saying I'm going into IT. So the marketplace is demanding, oh wow, I can go into fintech right now. Financial technology, definitely. Financial technology is booming. Well, what about that crypto stuff? Is it still available? What happened to me? What happened to all these guys saying they're gonna create their own money? They're not creating it anymore. Why? Because they didn't have value in their equity. Well, guess what? You guys, or people over the internet, or people in general that might not know the marketplace, oh yeah, it was here. It's here to stay. It's here to stay. And the marketplace is actually operating off the internet in so many other regions of the world. When the states and other countries say, oh, we're developed, guess what? People are popping up with the internet. It don't matter how fast it is, they're popping up with the internet. Remember, it's internet. So they want to connect the world more, correct? Okay, so you're in an internet marketplace where even if you got into fintech right now, you could literally burrow yourself in that industry for the next 30 years because the internet's going to be around for the next 30 years. Period. You left the storefront marketplace and went to the online marketplace. Somebody millionaires and billionaires for sure are being born. They're not being born, they're actually working their faces off right now, like the rest of us. They're working right now. 30 days. They're if they're going private or they are private and they're focused on maintaining their privacy because they knew that that's what they were in the game to play for, was to create a lasting legacy to make sure that their grandchildren and their great grandchildren and their great great grandchildren, just like you know your ancestors, they know your name and they know it for a good reason. The next 30 days can be one of those moments where you look back and you write just a 30-day log of the fact that, yes, right now, I took the next 30 days to control the next 30 years and then go to 300 years. When people talk about legacy, the next 300 years, what is your family going to stand for? Can you make a 300-year plan in the next 30 days happen? That's the legacy planning that we're playing at and beyond. The game is there for the ones that really want it. It's not, oh, we're going to keep talking about it to our friends and family. It's, oh, I had to be, I had to be senior trustee in order to have successor trustees. That's why trustee training is so critical. That's why consultation is so critical, to at least make sure you have a successor in place so you can have your legacy go on. We appreciate you all at the Vault. Thanks for tuning in live, episode 179, going private in the next 30 days. What it looks like. It's been a joy. It's been a blast because we know that people at the Vault, they don't just want hope. They know that action is required, and sometimes to know that there are still people out there holding the stripe, holding the banner, and saying private is kicking butt right now, and they know that okay, we still need to get in that position and go in that route, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. You don't need the hope to know someone else is winning in the private. They got public examples of the private people winning. That's just the facts. You can look at them every single day. You see them, and so it's like, well, you don't want to be dumbfounded by the fact that you know that they're public and private. It's the fact that they're private before they're public. When you talk to them, they'll tell you that. But they also know how to go back in the public and get capital. So in the private sector, you have the financial education to get capital in the private and in the public. It's a financial education. The financial education is private. It's not public. Otherwise, people wouldn't be losing their shirts right now. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay. Thanks for sharing this with your friends and family, your close associates. Peace. Chris